It's now my pleasure to introduce Senator Lamar Alexander from Tennessee. Elected to the Senate in 2003, Senator Alexander has been a strong supporter of ARPA-E since its inception. Previously, he served as chairman of the Senate Republican Conference, the 5th Secretary of Education, and the 45th Governor of Tennessee. Please join me in welcoming Senator Lamar Alexander.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks and good morning to all of you. First, a salute to Dr. Chu, with whom I've worked for the last 4 years, for bringing in really talented people. ARPA-E is a very good example of that, for focusing on energy hubs, which is a terrific way to organize the Department of Energy, and for promoting a more balanced, and from my point of view of the energy world over his 4 years. So we thank him for his service. And a salute also to Bart Gordon, my fellow Tennessean and my partner, as we work to enact the America Competes Act, which tries to develop a plan to help make our country more competitive, and out of which came the ARPA-E agency, which we celebrate today. Not long ago, an Oak Ridge National Laboratory scientist said to me that it was hard to think of a major technological advance that didn't have some element of government-sponsored research. Of course, we know that research and technology has been the driver for so many of our jobs since World War II. And I see that in my life every day. For example, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went quail hunting in Texas. I've been going for years, hadn't been to this place for a couple of years. We found no quail, but to my great surprise, we found an entire field of natural gas and oil rigs, flares, 5 motels where there'd been a mom and pop place a little while ago. It was the result of the new development of unconventional natural gas and oil. And of course, that developed because of the entrepreneurial spirit in our country, because of private ownership, because of investments, because of free enterprise, but it also, according to the entrepreneurs themselves, the former Mitchell Energy Vice President, it also was helped by government-sponsored research. Don Stewart, who was the Mitchell Energy Vice President, said DOE started it and other people took the ball and ran with it. I give them a lot of credit. Specifically, hydraulic fracturing demonstration projects, patents on early directional drilling, and 3D mapping all played a role in this remarkable development that has created circumstances where we have cheap, cleaner energy at about 1/5 the cost of what Europeans pay for natural gas, and about 1/5 or 1/6 the cost of what Asians pay for natural gas. Or another example would be, I drove here this morning in my Nissan Leaf. It's about to be made in Tennessee. I paid $30,000 for it. I couldn't take the $7,500 credit because I was the sponsor of that. I said to Carlos Ghosn, who's the CEO of Nissan, I guess you want a car that'll go further than 100 miles, which is about what the car will go each time you plug it in. He said, no, I want a car that costs $20,000 instead of $30,000. And I agree with him. I think that we're more likely to see electric vehicles as a second car for many Americans when it's cheaper, when it's more in the $18,000, $20,000, $22,000 range. Well, most of that cost is in the battery. And at ARPA's East Conference last year, it was announced there's a 50% reduction by one of the inventions that would cut in half the density of the lithium battery. General Motors is already working on that. ARPA-E is also supporting inventions that have a more efficient switch module and working on long charging times. I plugged my car into the wall at the basement of my apartment in Washington, D.C. Last night when I plugged it in, it said it would take 18 hours to charge. It only had 12, so today it only will drive 70 miles instead of about 95. But this new invention will speed that up and make it easier and cheaper. And then finally, the mayor was talking about coal and air pollution. I know something about that. I live in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, or right at the edge of it, about 2 miles away from the border. It's the most polluted national park in America, and our major cities in Tennessee have big air pollution problems. But thanks to technology, we know what to do about mercury, sulfur, and nitrogen that comes out of coal plants. And ARPA-E is supporting a development of an invention that would use microbes to produce liquid fuel from hydrogen and carbon dioxide. And if you can capture and commercially use the CO2 that comes out of coal plants and out of gas plants, then you will have made an enormous advance, not just in the United States, but in the world, in the ability to use large amounts of cheap energy in a cleaner way. This research, this kind of research, is in jeopardy. And it's not just because of the so-called sequester. I can still remember the day about 8 years ago in a budget hearing in the Senate, a couple of years after I'd arrived, when I had these nightmares that I used to have as governor 25 years earlier of entitlement programs, automatic spending increases in the government, rising out of control and soaking up the money that we need for energy research, for higher education, for national laboratories. That's what's happening today. That's what's happening today. The dollars that all of you support for ARPA-E are in jeopardy, not because of automatic spending reductions. They're in jeopardy because of automatic spending increases in other parts of the budget that has the federal government borrowing 42 cents out of every dollar, which is why it's so important that we get that under control. Now, I walked down to the National Academies of Science the afternoon of that budget hearing in 2005, and I said to them, I think that if you will give to us in the Congress a list of 10 things in priority order that would help make our country more competitive, I suspect we'll do it. What we lack really is the specific idea. And so that was, out of that discussion came the Rising Above the Gathering Storm, which Norm Augustine headed, of which Dr. Chu was a member. They made 20 reductions. We had bipartisan support in the Senate and the House. Bart was the leader on the Democratic side in the House. I worked in the Senate with some others. President Bush was very involved. In 2007, it had 35 co-sponsors on the Republican and Democratic side. That was the America Competes legislation that set up a blueprint for funding, for research throughout the federal government, what we need to do to keep competitive. We authorized that. 3 years later, it comes up for authorization again in September. I'll be involved in that, so will Senator Coons from Delaware on the Democratic side, and it's important to do. But I repeat, the major danger to America Competes, to ARPA-E, and to federal funding of government-sponsored research is not the automatic spending cuts that are in the news today. It's the automatic spending increases that nobody wants to talk about, that comprise 55% of the budget, that go up every year without anybody even voting on them, that's soaking up the money that supports the activities that we're talking about here. Finally, I continue to support ARPA-E, proud of it, glad of where it came from, glad of where it's going. I love the energy of it, the talented people, the new ideas, some of which I've already mentioned. I think it fits the kind of energy future that America needs. It offers market-driven solutions, not just the government picking winners and losers. It focuses on cheaper energy, which is the way we increase prosperity for the largest number of people. It focuses on cleaner energy, not just a government definition of renewable energy. And especially it focuses on research and development instead of government mandates and subsidies. I'm for doubling the amount of money we spend on energy research in America. I think we should take that money from the subsidies that we give in the marketplace. But I'm here today really to celebrate you, to honor Dr. Chu and others who have helped create ARPA-E, and to wish you the best as you move ahead with your exciting new ideas. Thank you very much.